And hello and welcome to episode 121 of the Game Pit, live from Essen 2018. I'm Sean.
Hey everyone, Ronan here. You're very welcome in joining us on this, our first of our episodes coming from Essen. We are super excited to share some initial thoughts on some games with you. These won't be the full in-depth reviews you're used to. Those will come a bit further down the line as you'd expect. But we've got 6 Essen games that we've at least given a little tickle to, and we thought you might just enjoy hearing our quick first impressions.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been trawling the halls, walking the aisles, gathering games for future reviews, but we'll talk about those later. And we're going to crack straight in. Ronan, what's your first game?
My first game is a game that we treasure hunted, Sean, and it was an easy treasure, and I've managed to get a couple of plays in, but you haven't, so I'm expecting to be grilled heavily so far on this one.
Well, I've just bought my own copy, so...
Alright, so we'll do a full review.
We will do.
We'll keep this very brief, in which case, Carpe Diem from Stefan Feld and Alea. As everyone probably knows by now, it's a Roman-themed tile selection game in which you grab them from a central board, put them onto your own board. You've got 4 rounds, and you can be scoring them in various ways, and one of the keys to it is player-driven scoring. You choose where you score each round on a little grid, and there's like a track you have to stay ahead of in order to choose your scoring. So, the main points on it is the tile-taking system. We discussed this previously. It's a circle of tiles, but there are lines that link 2 areas together. Yes. And when you're in one area, you can go to 2 other areas. And then when you're in that area and you next go to take a tile, you can go back to the area you came from or go to the next one along. Which, as has been said before, and we pointed out, is like a circle. It is like a circle, Sean. And it just could be a circle.
It could be a circle, but it could also be this. It doesn't bother me as much as it does other people.
It makes the planning and seeing who can grab what you're after 1 or 2 moves ahead much, much harder to have it this sort of hex system. Your brain just doesn't work that way. You just can't leap ahead 2 moves for everyone else. From
what I've seen, you can correct me on this, but they're not the clearest of lines. They're quite thin and crisscrossy, and
the lines are okay. I mean, it is confusing to the eye. There are some other things that aren't quite as clear. There are definite colour issues.
Well, we talked about those. We'd heard about those. Do they stand up?
In the play, it is a slight issue. There's backs of tiles that are very, there's certain tiles that you use in the last round. It's to make sure you've got lots of ways of finishing your buildings before the end of the game. They're very close to the colours of the backs of those tiles. They're just little kind of things like that maybe need a little bit more care.
What I wanted to ask you about this one, Ronan, is those individual scoring. Is it very sort of backstabby, trying to get in there in front of people that you know is going for the same type of scoring, or is it more relaxed than that?
It's quite important to jump in, or it depends if someone else is doing the same thing as you. Especially early on, everyone starts with enough points, because if you can't score, you have to place a dobber. If you can't score one of the cards you're next to, you lose 4 points, and you can end up losing 8 points in the first round. And both games I've played in, someone's lost 8 points.
And does that mean that the banderole track is very important?
Yes, there's a banderole track there that on your own grid where you're placing your tiles, when you go on there, you grab a banderole, you move up on the track, that scores you points at the end, but also whoever's first gets to choose the scoring. It is very important, and it's very important to get ahead on it, and then you can drive things, and it lets you know that if I'm going for something, so if I'm collecting chickens, for example, I will definitely get the chicken scoring card. So it gives you a bit more security in what you're doing. I found that, so I was in the lead all the way through on the banderole track in the first game, and I was very confident what I was going to score. And in the second game where I got behind, I was always having to mitigate what I was doing and make sure I was slightly flexible. There's that market you can take to turn your goods into coins, and then you sell them as anything. So yeah, you can't be quite as focused if you're not ahead.
Yeah, but at least you've got that option that you can be flexible in the game.
Yeah, but it does cost you points.
Right, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, you do. Banderole does seem very important.
So Ronan, before you sum up, because I haven't played it, is there anything else you want to raise about Carpe Diem?
Yeah, I just want to point out that when you're drawing tiles like this, because you place them on your own board, it can be very solitaire. There's a real fight for the tiles. It is really important what you're going for. And what stops you from sort of getting a monoculture and everyone going for their own thing so that you're not competing is that there are these frame bonuses we talked about that encourage you to build certain buildings in certain places. Because everyone's got them, everyone's going for kind of the same thing over the course of the game. So you'll end up with 3 people wanting that last grey thing to put on. Right. Not necessarily for the 2 banderoles, but because they want the frame bonus. And that can get cutthroat. And that's good, because that means that central interaction is going on. You are looking at what other people are doing.
Very good, very good. Okay, you're selling it to me. You're selling it.
I enjoyed it a lot. It's only a couple of plays, but it's kind of a Castle Burgundy weight.
Right.
It reminds me a bit of Castles of Burgundy because you're taking from the centre, putting on your own board. Maybe slightly less strategic, but this one's going to stick around, and I imagine there's a full review going to come down the line. But a very good start from Carpe Diem.
Oh, cool. Okay, so my first game is it's one of the Essen hotness, I suppose. I suppose it's one of the world's hotness in the board gaming community. It's the new Azul. It's the stained glass Essentra designed by Michael Kiesling from Next Move Games. So it has very similar mechanisms as Azul, as in you take from the centre all of one colour from a tile, and then you push the rest of the tiles into the centre. But the scoring is slightly different on this one, Ronan. I'm going to start you off there. We played this one last night. Did you find the scoring more intuitive? More gamery, because there is this thing going around that it's more gamery than the first Azul, but I didn't see that.
I didn't see it either. So for the score, you're taking these colours and you've got these columns that require sets of colours to score, right? Mm-hmm. And when you score a column, you score the points for it and all the columns you've done to the right of it. You've got a row of 8 of them. It was much more obvious how to score in this game to me.
Well, not to me. It was halfway through when I realised I was doing completely the wrong thing.
But I think there is an option of doing a couple of different things there. What I did early was I got my right hand columns completed once. You can complete each column twice, but they flip over and do different patterns. Anyway, I got them done early so that all my subsequent columns scored a few extra handful of points.
But the left hand columns are worth more points.
Yeah.
So obviously I've just gone straight for the more points. Ronan's seen the long game, gone for the right column to basically, when he goes for the more points on the left, he gets super big bonuses from those.
I mean, I thought about that, but beyond that, really my planning ahead was, so there's 6 rounds and there's 5 different colours, and each of the 5 colours will at least once be the bonus colour for a round, that if you complete a pattern, for every colour tile you have in that pattern, which is the bonus colour for this round, you score an extra point. And I was actually planning more around that. And I was laying my patterns up and saying, right, this only needs 2 yellows now. I'll wait till the yellow round to finish it.
Yeah, there's definitely that element to it, which I think just pushes it beyond being quite dull, drab. I actually didn't like the look of it as much as the first Azul. The first Azul had its own sort of feeling. This one, the colours are quite bright. They're quite, not gaudy, but they're supposed to be stained glass. But I think it didn't match the beauty of Azul for me.
It wasn't as unique as Azul. Azul came out and nothing else looked like it, and you went, wow, that looks great.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but definitely other opinions are out there.
Oh, of course, for sure, yeah.
I mean, other people that we've spoken to.
Yeah. I did think. So
The train's going past, it's really loud.
There's a train going past right outside our window. Fantastic. Now you can tell we're live. We're live about 19 miles from Essen.
Great.
The booking didn't go too well.
That's a lot of cab fares.
So in England, there's a cough suite called Tunes.
Yeah.
Or Halls
Soothers.
Hall Soothers or something. And they feel like that. I kept wanting to pop one in my mouth and have a little suck.
Well, kept wanting to. Do I have to retrieve 4 from your mouth at certain points? The look of it, yeah. It's in fact, the whole game, it's so similar to Azul. The mechanism is Azul. And I think this is going to be a flip of the coin thing of, if you prefer the look and this scoring, you'll prefer this. If you prefer the older Azul, I prefer the older Azul, to be honest with you. It's only one player.
Yeah.
It's hard to break in against a game that I've played 20, 30 times.
I feel that because I felt that the scoring is more simplified and easy to read, I felt like if this one had come out first, and maybe the second one would have been the first one, if you know what I mean. I'm making it really confusing.
I don't know what you mean, but
if the first Azul would have come out after, then I felt that would have been a progression. I'm not saying this is a massive step back, but in just to it simplifies it, which I don't think it needed.
I agree with you, but because I'm hearing both sides of the story, it's almost 50-50. I think it's just a taste thing.
It could be, yeah.
Because some people are saying, like you said, it's more gamely scoring. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I just didn't see it at all. But
I think to round up on it, it's a very good game.
Yeah.
But it's Azul with a slightly different scoring for me.
Yeah.
And I just can't see myself ever choosing this over the original. So it's good. Play it if you fancy it. You might prefer it, but I don't think we did.
Pretty much.
And that's Azul Stained Glass of Sintra. What have you got next, Ronan?
I've got Cryptid, Sean.
Ooh.
Another one I've played a handful of times.
A lot of buzz.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, you're letting it right out.
Straight in there. This is my favourite so far of these 6 for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there you go. It's Hal Duncan and Ruth Verveers. It's by Osprey. Now, I've been nice about it, so I better be mean about it quick. It's the game in which there's a modular board, 6 large tiles which are covered in hexes. The hexes have different terrains, there's different structures, and you're all trying to work out which is the one hex that's being referred to by the clues. Now, each player gets a clue book and a colour, and for each board, each player gets an individual clue, and they're all different to each other, and it will tell you it's so far away from this terrain, or it's that close to this terrain, or it's on one of these 2 different terrains. And when you add all the clues together, there's only one hex will be valid, and the first person to guess that hex wins the game. You point to a hex, you say, is it there? And people put a cube if it's not, and you have to put a cube down where it's not, or they put a disc where it could be there, and once you choose somewhere and get 4 discs there, you know you've won. Right.
So, okay, so I haven't played any of the games that you're going to talk about in this episode.
Have you not? No, you haven't, you're right.
So, how much subterfuge is there? How much can you pull the wool over people's eyes? Or do you have to always tell the truth, or can you be shades of grey?
No, you have to tell the truth. Otherwise it would be impossible.
Okay.
Yeah, you absolutely have to. When someone asks you directly, you must tell the truth. And then actually the real hard bit comes when you ask them. So I said to Sean, can it live there? And he goes, no. Then I've got to put a cube down. That is almost the entire game. It's being vague enough, misleading people, so that you're not putting the cubes down, so it's really, really obvious what your clue is.
Right, okay.
So that really is the key to it. And what is interesting is that every time there's a question and every time there's an action, you're all involved. Because the second someone puts a cube or a disc down, you go, oh! So that means their clue might be that, it might be this, it could be that, it could be the other.
Is it one of those games that it can be fantastic, or it can just peter out if everyone knows where the clue is, and it's just whoever's next in turn that will get it?
It's too quick for that.
Okay.
It takes 20 minutes to play.
Right, okay.
It's super quick, and certainly the field narrows down. It might be quicker for some than others. And if you get to the point where I'm thinking, okay, I'm pretty sure Ellie knows where it is, on the next turn she's going to go for it, I will have enough information to make an educated guess. And because I obviously know what mine is, and I should have worked out a little bit from the others, so I just go, right, I'll go for it there. And you might get lucky, and you might win, but in a 20-minute game, is it that important? Usually it's the good deduction that's going to win you the game.
And last question for me, Ronan. It's one of my usual questions. Player count. What's the best?
It plays 3 to 5. I mean, I think it works on all. There's an absolute big, huge stack of cards with loads of different setups, and they all play 3, 4 or 5 players, every single setup. Okay. You just get slightly different clues. And I can't see there be an issue with any of them, to be honest with you.
I'm 2 for 2. I want to play both of your games.
Great. I think you didn't get to do my moan that I said I was going to do right at the beginning.
Oh, go on then. Go on.
Components.
Not good. From Osprey as well. Osprey are usually top notch.
Quality's fine, right?
Yeah.
There are 3 blues in the game. There's a structure that's blue, right, and there's 2 blue player colours, and there's actually a blue C as well. So there's 4 blues.
Okay.
They ain't that different. They are not differentiating enough, especially the 2 player colours, and that is really important because you're looking and you want to go right. All of that colour is none of them are on mountains, so. Maybe it's on mountains. That's what their clue is, something like that, right? Mm. And when you got the 2 so close to each other, you're like, "Are you joking me, man?" This huge.
It's a bit of a misstep in a visual game. Like, visuals are very important.
Yeah, so, and they've kept all the visuals really plain. The terrain's really plain, and that's cool. That's fine. It doesn't look that. It actually looks like a prototype. One of your favourite things. but those player colours being too close, complete misstep. Other than that, Cryptid. I've loved it. 4 games so far. So for such a quick game, probably need more to fully firm up an opinion. Mm-hmm. But absolutely loving it. Cryptid.
Very good. Okay, so my next game is one that's made it onto Ronan's top 10 most anticipated for Essen.
It certainly was. And now I've got a copy.
We've both now got a copy.
But I haven't played it yet.
But Ronan hasn't played it. It's Chronicles of Crime, designed by David Cicerel from Lucky Duck Games. And as Ronan said, I've managed to get a couple of plays in of this. It's an app-based board game where you are essentially trying to solve crime, but there's an overarching story within that. Ronan, have you seen much of this going on?
I'm aware of it, obviously, because it's on my top 10. It's one of a couple of these detective games that are coming out at the same time. Obviously, one of them's called Detective. In terms of the deduction and all that, so we'll start with that, Sean.
Yeah.
The actual investigation process, which to me, in all honesty, is the easier part to design of one of these detective games, because people love a puzzle and love a whodunit.
Yeah.
How is the actual detective process?
Well, so you start off with the actual virtual reality side of it, which I think is absolutely fabulous, to be able to stand in the crime scene and look around and find the clues for yourself.
This is when you're using your mobile phone, right?
Yeah, you use your mobile phone, and you can either just use your mobile phone and not have it virtual reality, or they give you a little pair of spectacles that fits over your mobile phone, and it actually does work. You have to tilt them at a certain angle sometimes to get the best out of it, but it does work, and you are spinning around your room like an Egypt, looking up and down at things, and look at that and look at this and what have you. It's superfluous. You don't need it. You don't need it, but it's brilliant.
But you do need the phone.
You need a picture of the crime scene,
right?
And you need to be able to look into the crime scene. And what you do,
See, it's the glasses bit you're saying is superfluous, or
the glasses. It just all you need. You could have a card, a piece of paper. It could be in a book.
Why are you ruining our fun?
This is what
we want to play with it.
No, it's fabulous, and it sort of brings you immerses you in the game. So that's where it does come into its own. But all you're doing really is picking things out. So you're saying, okay, there's papers on the floor, and you look for a card, and you see if there's a card that says papers, and you put that to one side, and then all you're doing is scanning them to see if they come up with something. If the app tells you, oh yeah, the papers say this, and then you sort of pick up and run from that.
I hear you.
And then obviously the investigation continues. You're talking to people, you're going to different locations, and obviously the more you talk to people, the more they give you. And what I really like about it, Ronan, the investigation process, is the characters of people change as the investigation progresses.
Okay.
So you can find out something that maybe counteracts what somebody has told you. You can go back to them, and their story will change.
You're putting the squeeze on them.
Yeah, you've put the squeeze on. Their backs against the wall, and all of a sudden they're like, well, okay, all right, I did lie about that, but which is really, really clever, and I like it. You get like progression in the witnesses as well as the case.
In almost any media, if the world progresses without you making it progress, and things change while you're off doing other things, that always immerses me more. Like in a book, if nothing happens until the heroes turn up, and then they change it, and then they go away, 10 years later come back, it's the same, it puts me right off. And this seems like it captures that, where you feel like
perfect. I'll tell you
you're
what,
in a real world.
Just to emphasise that point, there's times when you get information say, yeah, this person's normally around here at 5 o'clock. And there's a timer, the actual daytime.
Yeah.
And it might be 3 o'clock. You have to wait for 2 hours, go back to that location at 5 o'clock and check for them, and they'll probably be there.
You're tickling me.
And then if you go back after that, or if you wait too long, they ain't going to be there.
You are tickling me. All right, we'll talk about time. That's a lovely segue. Is there a time pressure on the investigation? Have you got a limited amount of time?
There is. Well, there feels...
How much of a pressure is there?
I'm not sure if it's the app sort of working its magic, or whether there is an actual timer, but we seem to, every time we play it, we seem to get in the nick of time and like win the day in the nick of time. Like, I don't know if there's a trigger where you find out a certain clue or a certain person tells you something, and all of a sudden the chief at Scotland Yard says, right, I need a decision, you need to get back here because this is going on too long. And then you go back to Scotland Yard and you tell them you find it.
You might have to deliberately mess it up one time and see, like,
just
4 years into the investigation. What are you doing, lads? Still in the pub. All right. I said that the detective part is the easy part to design, but it seems like they have put some real thought and innovation into that. Mm-hmm. The hard part for me on detective games is the end, where they ask you the questions, because a lot of times it's very specific information they want. And you could play as well as the next group, but have unveiled different information that it seems valid, but isn't in the specific questions you're asked.
It's like a watered down version of something like Sherlock Holmes consulting.
You had to, it had to be referenced.
Yeah, well, it had to be, but it's the issue we had with Sherlock Holmes is that they would come up with some. So the case may be about, I don't know, Joe Bloggs has murdered his grandmother, Ivy Bloggs, and he would ask you, so Martin Smith was seen wearing lederhosen on a certain day. What day was it? Like, well, I don't know.
It was Thursday in this.
That's right.
He always does that.
You don't get that wide of a swing away from the main narrative. There is like occasional bits, okay, you might have spoken to this person, what did they tell you about it? And it's more geared towards how did you get to your conclusions, to make sure. It's like doing your workings out when you're doing your maths. So they'll check the workings out, make sure you've done it the right way.
And I think the last question is that one of the selling points was, with the same components you can have different stories. Because let's say those papers, there might be something in one crime, but something else another crime. 100%. The people will be different.
100%.
Yeah.
So you've got your main characters that you can ask questions to. You got your scientist, your doctor, your psychotherapist, and I can't remember who the other one is. But you basically go to them for everything, and they will interact with the case itself.
Okay.
And obviously, there'll be papers on maybe 2 crime scenes, and obviously the papers will say something different. So it's very easy for them to write that in, have just those basic components.
Lovely.
And
you're selling this to me. This is a very positive episode so far.
Well, there you go. Only negative is if you are playing it with one mobile phone, handing it around, because everything has got to be zapped with a QR code on it, and it's handing it around, and they say that you should split up the characters so you each have one. I actually found that just give one person the phone and say, right, you've got it for 10 minutes, then give another person. Everyone's got to look at the crime scene and stuff like that, but people can say, right, can you check this for me, and hand them the card, and one person scans. If you're constantly handing it around, it does get a bit tedious.
Okay, noted. But
overall, absolutely fantastic. I've bought Detective before this one, but played this first, and Detective has been relegated until I get through a bit more of this, because this one is very good, Ronan.
And I've started Detective, so I might need to finish that before I do Chronicles of Crime. So I'm keeping my powder dry on that.
That was Chronicles of Crime.
Okay, so second last game, Symphony No. 9, designed by Frank Liu and Hung Yang-She, and published by Mo Ideas. Symphony No. 9 is about 18th century classical music being composed in Europe, and we play the roles of the noble sponsors. And we're looking to sponsor works by these 6 different composers, and in sponsoring them we claim cubes of them, and we use those cubes to claim their works, and each of the works will score differently at the end of the game. And then there's an auction to see who performs this turn, and the composers who perform will earn money for those people who have previously sponsored them, and that money you'll use to spend to earn cubes to get more works, and so on over 6 rounds. What's interesting to me, Sean, is that money is the driver to the game. You get a couple of free cubes each round, but you can pay for more. But it's just a means to an end. And once you play Symphony No. 9 once or twice, you'll realise it's not about the money. It's all about the cubes, and you have to focus down quite a lot. When in a lot of auction games, it's much more about the money. The market money is just secondary in this one. And a lot of things this game does slightly differently to your famous bog standard Euro.
It was a unique theme, which, even though there is another symphony game out, I think I saw it in the Essen halls, but it is a fairly unique theme, and it was always going to be interesting to see how they would make a game out of this. All right, you're saying that it's played slightly different and it's all about just pushing cubes around. Do you ever get the feeling for what the subject material is about?
No.
Okay.
It's a stock game. And the stock happens to be in these composers.
Right.
And that's about it. There's not really anything to it.
And I didn't really like the look of it, Ronan, when I saw it. Now, I know we have a differing opinion on this. I thought it looked dull as ditch water.
The look, as with the gameplay, as with the theming, all slightly different, slightly not what we're used to. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe a little bit of adjustment. But I actually like it. I like the fact that the theme is slightly different. It could have been pasted on. You could have been stocks in silk and spices and pepper and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's not. You're buying stocks in Beethoven and Mozart and Haydn, and you can kill them. You can work them to death.
Brilliant.
Which is actually a good thing for you if you've invested in them, because it makes your work's worth more. And that sort of macabre touch, I quite like that.
Right, so now we're killing Paul Beethoven.
It's actually one of the funny things is their fame goes up and down over the course as the cubes get taken, and there's two sides. One that mirrors their actual life, and how famous they are means whether they'll perform in a high-level concert, medium-level concert, or low-level concert, depending upon how much money the players have bid on that round for where the concert's going to be. And Beethoven's got a clear, it must be where he goes deaf, dips from like 7 down to a 2 out of 10, and then slowly rises again. And it's a bit brutal, that reputation. You're like, what happened to poor Mozart in his late 20s? He's just gone to plot. Yeah, it's pretty funny, some of that stuff. And the game end, there's different tiles that you attach on, so you can mix and match them, so the different composers can score in different ways, and also those game end scoring tiles are reversible, so there's like 10, I think, different scoring, because some of them are the same outside, but I think there's 10 different scoring means you can use for these 6 composers, so you can mix it up around and you can score in different ways, and there's 2 different ways of scoring as well. Because what happens is, you get to take 2 cubes in a round, and then you can buy more. And at the end of when everyone's taking their cubes, whoever's got the most cubes gets 1 work. And there's only ever going to be 6 works produced maximum if they don't die by the composers. But some of them are going to score you, like whoever's got the majority will score 20 points. So you want to keep collecting those ones maybe. But a lot of them are multipliers for things that have happened in the game. But once you get to 3 of those, they don't multiply anymore. Right. So then you want to start diversifying. And the fact that some of them you want to lock in, some of them you want to diversify, some will score this, some of them will score for every tile you have of that composer will score more points for each tile you have of all the other composers. So you want different ones with all of that. And it forces you to think in different ways.
Okay, so what you're saying, Ronan, is kind of matching in what I've heard about this game, that it is a little bit different, but it's also getting a little bit of buzz. So far you've been, or at least sounded quite positive about the game. Is there any negatives?
No, I like it. I think it's really quick. It plays in under 60 minutes. It's a bit kooky. It scores slightly differently. It plays slightly differently. You start realising that money's not the be-all and end-all. It's just a means to an end. Like I said, 82 times. And I think it's just a nice, different take. And it's something that will force your players to think slightly differently and outside the box. And I'm all for it. And I like Symphony No. 9. It's another positive, sure.
Wow, very good. So
it's not like us at all. We must.
No, it's not. It's not. We must have Essen Viva.
Viva.
Essen Viva. So the last game of this episode is a game we've literally just played, so it's hot off the press. It is called Passing Through Petra, designed by J. Alex Kevern and coming from Renegade Game Studios. So very, very swiftly, it's a very simple action selection game in which you have a tile economy. You're placing and manipulating tiles to go to market and to sell things to various characters in the game. And there's a little bit more to it. There's cards that give you objectives on there. There's cards that are going to help you. But the heart of it, Ronan, is that very, very simple action selection mechanism that works quite well, I think.
Yeah, so there's a 3x3 grid, and each of the 4 actions is in a cardinal direction. And when you move towards that action, you get to take it. But obviously on a 3x3 grid, the maximum you can do is 2 moves in that direction before you have to start moving back in the other direction.
Yeah, if you can't move towards it, you cannot take that action.
Yeah. And that forces, and this is a word I think that's going to run through my initial thoughts of Passing Through Petra, forces a rhythm of your play. That you're going backwards and forwards and then up and down and backwards and forwards and up and down. And this is one of the aspects in which you have to prepare yourself for that rhythm. And you have to leave yourself with valid moves that allows you to reset. So you take tiles, and what it does is you're basically making connections between 2 different locations by taking tiles. And you take them, you add them to a row at the bottom of your board, and they push along ones, and they go to the top. And by connecting pairs sets from the top and the bottom is how you're going to move around these tracks, get cubes out and score points. It's nothing to do with money, it's just about getting all your influence out. So you're kind of like a middleman, you're kind of like a dealer.
Yeah.
There's a rhythm to that, like you take the tiles but you can't take the tiles too often.
I get what you're saying. I felt like it was very rarely I didn't go in one of 2 directions. Either towards the area where you take 2 tiles, which is called, Ronan's going to tell me,
the Plaza.
Plaza, that's the fella.
Thanks for putting me on the spot.
I know the other one was the Sick, but this is the Plaza where you get 2. The Sick allows you just to get the 1 character. So I wasn't that interested in the Sick because I wanted to keep my characters moving along and get the right characters chained up. So what happens when it's a queue, basically, isn't it, of tiles? When you take 1 or 2 tiles and you slide the others, and when ones fall off at the end, they go up above your player board. They become one of the people or the location that is selling to one of the other locations that is on your row. So you've got the columns up above, you've got the rows down below, and the columns are selling to the rows. So, or the people on them. Anyway, and I only ever really moved from the Plaza to the market to sell. The Plaza to the market to sell. It was a seesaw. It was a rhythm. It was a seesaw rhythm.
Yeah, but I mean, there's only 4 actions.
Yeah, but
you have to take the village.
I very, very rarely went to the village or the Seek.
But you had to go to the village because when you sell from a location, you then have to go to the village to reset.
Yeah.
Because you can't sell from one location and then rinse it.
Basically, you'd use the market action 3 times and then you just sell. Just basically, you might not even want the card, but you just want to free up those spaces sometimes.
No, you might. Because you were about, what are we going to say, 824 times better at it than I was.
Yeah.
And you were cooking dinner at the same time.
I was cooking dinner, concentrating on that, having to rush over, take a go.
You were next to us. You were part of the game.
Rush over 4 miles.
You were literally in the same room.
I was, but I wasn't always concentrating on what I was doing.
And how much did you beat me by?
Well, I finished ahead of everyone.
So there's 9 cubes you've got to get rid of. And you do it either by trading at the same place and going around the track and putting your cubes down, or as Sean said, you can get these objective cards and they'll say, if you've traded 3 times in Rome, you can place a cube on this card, or if you've built, because there's little infrastructures you can build up to make you slightly better when you trade in certain places. If you've done that in certain places, you can put a cube down. So 9 cubes to get rid of. Sean got rid of 9 cubes. I got rid of, I think, 3. Eleanor got slightly closer to him. She got rid of about 6.
But
probably got rid of 4.
Let's put a caveat onto that. You guys were ramping up. You guys got to the point where I had been maybe just a few steps before, where I was sort of having big moves, where I was moving around the circles that allow you to place your cubes and get rewards. I was moving around them quite rapidly with moves of like 15 and 20, where you guys just started on 3s and 4s, but you got to that point.
I never got past the 3s and 4s.
Well, you did. I know
Some of the competent people did.
Puria was waiting, sitting, lurking for a big move. I know
he was going to get rid of 4 of his 5 cubes in one go. The most Puria move ever. You're saying there that we were ready to get rid of some cubes. It ramps up quickly.
Yes.
It does not hang around, this game.
No.
You start off, you set your rhythm. I'm going to go back to my word again.
Rhythm boy.
You set your rhythm. You start setting up your line of tiles because you're setting up your trades ahead of time. You're looking ahead and going, I need Rome in my lineup now. I need Egypt now. I need India, what have you.
I'll tell you what, Ronan, I'm just going to jump in there.
Yeah.
It's a game about rhythm, and you certainly had the blues.
I'm going to beat you with something in a second. Lordy Lord, that's as good as it gets.
That's as good
Late
as it gets.
Late
at night after trawl in the halls.
But it absolutely did not stick around too long.
It felt like it was going to. It felt like, hang on, I've only got 5, still got 5 of my 9 left, but then they just went whoosh. I had that one go where I just got rid of 3 in one go, and all of a sudden I was down to 2, and then another 2 went, because you can basically gather camels as well, and I was just gathering loads and loads of camels.
You were?
I was.
I had the one I started the game with.
I had about 12, I think. And I was able to just advance that marker to put down my second one. I'd also made just to rub it in a little bit, I'd also done one of my achievements, so I'd won, and then
you were the champ.
I'm champ.
Time for a billionaire's walk. I don't know that this is the best convention game, because if you don't play it all the way through, I don't think you see the whole story of it, and that how the ending comes, and the fact that you've set yourself up for that ending. So I think there's a possibility people might try it and go, because when we did our first couple of moves, we're all doing the same thing. This is all really obvious. And then we started to diversify. But you can't diversify that much in your actions, obviously, because there's only 4 of them. But you do diversify on what you're trying to do. But it wasn't obvious to me. on the first play that it diversified much?
Yeah, so I think what I'm going to say to basically sum up kind of touches on that is, I think first of all, just off to a side, I think it has a real presence because the sick, where you collect the main body of the tiles, and the plaza where you collect some of the tiles, like obviously you've got that long sort of canyon. Would you say it's a canyon?
I knew you'd like that.
Yeah.
I'd call it a sick.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what I'd call it. Yeah. Apparently, it's a 5 mile long canyon that leads into Petra. You know Petra's here.
Oh, right, yeah.
It is the actual.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, which gives it a presence, and it does make it stand out. And you go, oh, what's going on there? But I felt, and I'll go back to that rhythm. I felt that the rhythm of the game almost dictated what you were doing. Certainly for me, I was back and forth to the market. When I had done 3 trades, it was fairly simple. Go down to the village, get rid of the cubes so I can do those trades again. Back and forth. And it very rarely, it was only if I desperately wanted.
How could you only do 3 trades though? Because all 5 of your people link together. So when you trade with one, you've got to set up with the next one along, and then set up with the next one along.
When you're doing that plaza move and collecting 2 tiles, it's thinking one or 2 goes ahead, and making sure that you've got the right ones coming off to activate at least 3 people. And so you're just thinking that 1 or 2.
I get the theory of it,
but I didn't feel that I was doing anything massively different, and I don't think I'd ever play that game differently if I was just there to win. I might try something if I was playing with new players, but I don't think I'd change it against you.
I've got almost the opposite point to make.
Well done.
That I think that this is the hardest game to judge of these from one play, because you're not aware of that rhythm of it, and I'd like to see what would happen as people went and played again, and how much it would change, or would people start doing things differently? Would there be more competition for tiles? Would we be looking at you going, right, he's ramping up to go along that route, cut that out, you can't have any China tiles now, because now what are you going to do? How are you going to think your way around this one?
Yeah, fair enough, yeah, you could certainly.
And I'd like to see that and see,
yeah.
I don't think we, again, it's only a quick game, but I don't think we fully explored it. And that's why I was saying I'm not sure it's going to be the best.
I have my doubts, but I'd certainly like to give it another go.
I'm going to force you to come back to it. I'm going to force you through my passage to Petra.
God.
There's a thought for you. Damn, that went that way, did it? So, there you go. Those are our verdicts. Oh, I didn't really sum up on passage through Petra. Well, I'm holding back. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the play.
I enjoyed it, yeah, for sure.
I did have fun. And I think a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be, and as I said, probably a lot quicker.
It's different and it's interesting, and I did enjoy it for sure.
And we'll see how it holds up to repeat play, shall we?
Yes.
We'll come back to it. Right. Beautiful. Sean, any final thoughts for these good people?
Just that we are going to be back in the halls again tomorrow. We're on the Dice Tower booth between 1 and 2. So we were very lucky to have a few people come up to us today, Ronan.
We appreciate it very much. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely delighted when people come up and say hello. Even if you agree with us or not, just come up and say hello.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We did have people come up and say, I love listening to you because I disagree with you so much. That's good to know.
You know what? I think that's probably the majority of people.
Probably the wise people. Yes, indeed. So thanks to everyone that we've seen so far and chatted to. We've got some excitement planned. We've got a playtest of Barrage tomorrow, Sean. Possibly a look at King's Dilemma from Horrible, who have been incredibly busy on the first day.
Oh my word, yeah, a little bit.
As has the whole
show. We have noticed that Thursday almost felt like a Saturday from previous years. And that
did feel like a Saturday in certain areas.
In halls 1 and 3 for sure.
Oh.
But places like Horrible and Fuel and Spieler were just inundated from 10 o'clock until closing time. They were just mobbed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a queue 20 deep all day long.
Things were selling out left, right and centre.
Lookout, mobbed.
Lookout was mobbed, but things Newton has gone. The expansion for Great Western Trail has gone.
Teotihuacan.
Yeah, Teotihuacan has gone. I don't know that publishers are expecting this.
Yeah.
if Saturday carries on the trend, I think it's going to be an absolute madhouse.
I think it will just be in there, grab a Schlabbermish, do our dice tower stint and get out. Really, I genuinely, and like we've been going since 2010, surprised by how mega busy it was today. Just
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
I can't emphasise that point enough. But loads of cool stuff, lots of buzz going on.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, it's great. I like some of the innovation that the vendors are coming up with. There's the one that are playing the game in the circle with the drawing pads.
Yeah, that's
all the time.
Just One, Repos.
Just One. You've obviously got the bed game. I can't remember. When I Dream, they've got the bed out again. There's another one that's got arcade machines. It's looking more and more professional every year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's loads more, and there's still this game, the escape room is back, and just loads of stuff going on. They've moved a load of the mini stuff and cosplay and role playing stuff over into one hall together, and it feels more coordinated or more put together this year. Yeah. Like someone's actually looked at the hall plans and gone, do you know what? It makes sense to have these people together, and these people together, and those games together. And it all seems to be coherent.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
I think so. Ronan, I've got one more thing before we let these lovely people go.
Hit me.
One or two, because I've got two.
Okay, so that's not one, is it?
That's not one. Two games that you're double excited that you've picked up so far.
You should have given me more time. I was searching around.
I'll tell you what, I'll do mine.
Okay, let me think. Go on.
While you think. So, two games that I'm most excited about. I picked up Dice Hospital today, the deluxe version. Proper excited about that. I think it looks amazing. People have been telling me really good things about it. And I was really excited about Robin Hood when we talked about that on our preview. And I worked myself up into a stupor, Ronan. So it was pretty much the first thing I bought. And yeah, Robin Hood and Dice Hospital.
Magna Storm?
Ah, you were well up for that.
I got in early today at 4 land. There was a queue at just after 10 and it never went away. And The Estates.
Ah, yeah. God.
That Eleanor is also very excited to play.
Yeah, it's because she's got mean streak like her father.
Yeah, she's a good girl. She's been well raised, that one. So those will be my two, Sean. So everyone's going to be hearing about them. We'll let them go.
We'll let them go.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Ronan.
Thank you, Essen.
Thank you, Essen.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll catch you, hopefully, in a couple of days' time for just another one of these quick roundups.
And, as always, we are very proud members of the Dice Tower Network. Go there and the Dice Tower itself for gaming goodness galore. If you wish to download the episodes, we're on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean and Spotify. We also have our YouTube channel, where we have our pit stop videos showing overviews of games. And we also have convention coverage. So go there, where Eleanor's been working very hard to put together some montages for us. So we've got one out from yesterday. Go and check that out. We have our social media on Facebook, Twitter at GamePit Podcast and Instagram. And if you want to contact us, we're at thegamepitpodcast@gmail.com. Or, of course, we do have our Board Game Geek Guild, which, to my mind, is the best way to contact us because we are constantly lurking around Board Game Geek. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Music by E. Aaron.
Tired boy.
Very tired from walking round Essen, boy.